everyone, and welcome to Thorough Newspaper Analysis brought to you by LawSeco. Let's see what articles are important from the Indian Express and the Hindu dated July 25th, 2020. So from the Indian Express, there is only one article that is very important and that is very beautifully written by Mr. Shashi Tharoor, and we all know him, that he is a very famous political leader from Congress, and also he is the Lok Sabha MP from Congress. So in this article, Case for a Presidential System, he talks about that in what ways the parliamentary system that currently exists in India has in a way failed us, and he has also talked about the discrepancies and anomalies which are attached to it. Further, he also tries to analyze that in what way and what kind of or what form of presidential system can be beneficial, and why India's governance system should switch from being parliamentary to presidential for an effective outcome. And next, we'll be talking about the News in Flash column, which talks about the very short and crisp news articles or news points which are important for a prelims exam. And this is LawSeco's initiative. This is the LawSeco test prep course page, and we have a lot of courses, and wherein the best of our course, one of the best courses is the Law of Courses, which is the judiciary test prep course. You can right now go and visit this official page, the link to which is there in the description box, and you can download for yourself free study material which is very beautifully drafted and to the point written for your exam requirements. You'll be taught by the top educators, and wherein we'll be having amazing perks like online classes and various other articles, various other items that are very helpful for the preparation. Then you should just go through the page once, and we are really hoping that it will be very beneficial for you all. Now, this is the multiple choice question for the day, which we'll be talking about some context that we'll be discussing today, and that is why we discussed the question beforehand, so that the listener is vigilant enough and you can write down the answer to this question in the comment section below as soon as you get the answer. So the question is, recently the water of the very famous Lonar Lake in Maharashtra turned pink due to, first, over salinity only, second, Heloarchaea bacteria, third, presence of an algae, or fourth, none of the above. So this is the descriptive question for the day. Keeping in mind the malfunctioning of the parliamentary system in India, many are considering the benefits of a presidential system of government. Discuss the pros and cons of presidential system of government in India's context. So that is the very thing that we'll be actually trying to understand in today's article as well. Let's start with this. The name of the article is Case for a Presidential System, and recently the political instability in Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, and the very infamous one in Rajasthan that is currently going on, and the increasing horse trading of MLAs has shown that parliamentary system has not worked in the Indian conditions. Basically, here with horse trading, we simply mean that when the MLAs are actually flouting the very rules under anti-defection law, and regardless of anything, they just keep on shifting from this party to another party, due to which the stability of a government in a particular state hampers. That is known as the horse trading. And for this particular thing, horse trading has also been defined that when political parties resort to unscrupulous ways to lure the members from another party to put together the majority required to form a government. What we are just seeing everywhere, it was seen in Manipur also, in Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, and currently Rajasthan also. This practice is called as horse trading. And basically, to curb this practice of horse trading, it simply seems like somebody or two parties or two teams are actually trading for horse, buying and selling of horses. And actually, it is not even seen in a way that they are actually representatives of the people, and they should be dealing with such issues more responsibly. And that is why, to stop or to put down a check on this horse trading, the anti-defection law was introduced through the amendment in 1985, and 10th schedule was added in the Constitution of India. But that is the very question in the current scenario, that how much has this anti-defection law been effective, and how much has it been able to bring down this practice of horse trading. Now let's see that why the parliamentary system has failed in India, because we are one of those people who are very proud of their democracy, and definitely we should be. But democracy all in all is a different thing, and parliamentary system is a part of our Indian democracy. And that is why we need to analyze that in what way can we think that the parliamentary system in India has failed us. Firstly, it has created the legislators unqualified to legislate who sought election only to wield executive power. Now, since we know that the Indian parliamentary system is unique in its own sense, because here, unlike the presidential system where the legislature and the executive are just separate and different from each other, unlike that, in India, the executive comes from the legislature itself. Like, for example, the president or the prime minister, all of these, they come through in some or the other way through the legislative bodies. And that is why what this parliamentary system has given to us in the current scenario is that the legislators, they are focusing less on legislating in an effective manner, but focusing more on getting the executive power in some or the other manner, which definitely it defeats the purpose of a legislator as well. Secondly, produced governments dependent on fickle legislative majority. Definitely, because we are now seeing that the majority of the legislators in the government, they are they're focusing more on their own growth, the growth of their party, or just in what way can they win the next elections. And that is why the entire system of legislation and basically the governance has been set up on these fickle legislative majority, which is not a good news for the democracy at large. Next, distorted voting preferences of an electorate, from voting for parties to individuals, and from electing legislators to electing executive. Basically, in India, what happens is that people do not really vote for a party, or do not take into account the entire, image of that particular party. Rather, they are voting for an individual, and that is why the individual also who is being voted to a particular position focuses more on his own image, focuses more on in what way can he be a star or a hero in the eyes of the public, rather than the entire party coming together to make some good endeavors for the society. Due to this, the people are not actually voting. For example, they're not voting for this party to make the prime minister. Rather, they vote for this individual to become the prime minister, and that is why they somehow have to vote for that party. Due to this, what happens is that this party gets all in all support, and also various leaders from such party come into power, which actually were not desired by the public at large. And that is why the voting should not be done for the individual to say, but for the party, and keeping in mind the collective approach or collective endeavors made by the party, so that the party is also incentivized enough to work collectively and to say in a way to make efforts in a collective manner, so that the better outcomes can be achieved. Also, this is one of the reasons why the anti-defection law has not been so successful, because here the candidate knows that the people are voting for me and not for the party that I am attached to. So in any scenario, if I even leave this party and move to another party, or even if I fight independently, but yes, because in India there are various restrictions and various benefits for that matter when you're able to avail while you're contesting through a renowned political party. So that is why, yes, they do not want to leave a particular party, but yes, they want to stay in some of the other major parties for that matter. And then when they realize that the people are voting for me and not this party that I'm attached to, they feel it very easy and comfortable to move to any party for that matter, and thus the horse trading increases even more, and also the very effect or impact of the anti-defection law is curtailed. Next, spawn parties that promote a selfish individual interest. As we just now have studied, that due to this, the parties promote not the welfare of the society, but their own selfish individual interests, because they know that probably this would be the best way of winning the elections, and that is why they even do such acts. Next, forced government to focus less on governing than staying in office. But obviously, exactly what we're discussing right now, that the government is taking the opportunity of 5 years not to use the time to do something good for the society. Of course they do, because they have to, but they do not focus a lot on this aspect. Rather, they utilize this time and every opportunity in order to make or pave the way for themselves in the very next election. And that is why the government's focus has been less on governance or governing nowadays, and it has been more on staying in the office for that matter. And non-existence of clearly defined political parties with distinct set of policies, due to which a lot of confusion in the minds of voters is also created, and that is why the parliamentary system creates a very huge confusion and ambiguity in the minds of the voters. Next, let's see that what are the problems that power politics is creating. First, it limits the executive posts to those who are electable rather than who are able. But obviously, because in India, when the posts of the executive are held by the legislators, because first they become the legislators, and then out of them only we choose the people who work as an executive as well. But then what happens is that the people who ultimately take up the seat of the executives, and executives, we know that these are the this is the body of the government that is responsible for the effective implementation of the government policies and rules. And that is why in India we often quote that it is not the legislation that is falling short in India, rather we have good laws, but the implementation of these laws is very weak and fragile. And this might be a reason because these people who are actually sitting at the on the posts of the executive were not actually meant to be the executives. In originality, they were elected in the form of legislators, but due to the very system of a parliamentary government, they came out from the legislature and they sat on the seats of the executive, which actually was not meant to be done. Or we can say they did not really belong to this area. And that is why ultimately what happens is that on these posts of executive, what we have in hand are the people who are electable, because yes, the people elected them, but are they also able to perform this this duty or not? This is a question. Second, puts a premium on defections and horse trading, and that is why we've just discussed that this even promotes anti-defection, and it has also kind of failed. Now here are the number of disqualification in the state legislature till 2004, and you can see this is a very impeding and high number. In Assam, you can see Madhya Pradesh, Nagaland, Punjab, Puducherry also, etc., and also in the states like Manipur and Meghalaya also. Third, legislation suffers as most laws are drafted by executive with minimal debate. But obviously, because when we are trying to mix in an unhealthy manner the work profiles of the people of the legislature and the executive, then definitely the outcome will not be very effective. Fourth, for the opposition parties, parliament or assembly serves as a theatre for demonstration of their power to disrupt. Yes, because many times it has been seen that the opposition parties, while being there in the house, they do not really participate in a healthy manner in the ongoing debate, because they also know that we have to do some steps, we have to do some tantrums and drama, so that the current government is in a way insulted, and then in the next elections we have it as a possibility to be in the power. And that is why they focus less on debating on a particular law, and they focus more on just disrupting the process of that lawmaking, which definitely is not healthy for any democracy. Now let's see that how adopting the presidential system can help. Firstly, a directly elected chief executive will have the political stability, obviously, because there will be no concept of this horse trading and thing existent, and thus once elected, that position would be very stable politically. Second, Indian voter will be able to vote directly for the individual he or she wants to be ruled, and thus that party and all the people who are not even deserving from that party, they would not come into power, and thus they would not get into activities which hamper the stability or the growth of the nation. Third, and here we were discussing that the president will be able to speak for the majority of Indians, then the majority of MPs, because now we know that in the current situation, the president is actually voted by the members of the parliament, and then we have the president who we have in hand. But if the president will be directly elected by the people of the country, he would definitely represent this majority and not the majority of the MPs actually. Thus, we'll have a direct form of government. And fourth, public would be able to judge the individual on performance, then on political skill. Definitely, because nowadays we are just judging how well a leader can be an orator, or how well he can influence the people for that matter. But the very basic skills that we require require him to have as a leader, we actually do not really focus on that. But that would not be the case once the presidential system is brought into India. This is simply a small chart which is very important for your notes also. You can jot them down, because this gives the difference between the direct democracy, which is the presidential system, and the representative democracy, which is the parliamentary system. Here it says that the direct democracy is a form of democracy where all laws and policies are created by a general vote of the society, which is the direct vote. But in the case of representative democracy, it is a form of democracy where citizens vote on representatives to create laws and policy on behalf of them. Exactly. So this is more direct and transparent. This is less transparent. This may be less effective, efficient, because many times it is said that the direct, in case of presidential to say bodies or in presidential government, there might be a chance of the president being a very to say centric power and being very autocratic in nature. But also we should imagine that in a situation that we currently have in India, where there is unimpeded to say majority of the ruling party and the opposition is just for the namesake, this can also definitely lead to an autocratic rule. So this totally depends on the conditions of a government system. With this, we'll be jumping towards the news and flash column. Firstly, Pied Cuckoo. The Wildlife Institute of India, it is in Dehradun, and along with the Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, which is again in Dehradun, and Government of the India's Department of Biotechnology, they have begun a study on migration of pied cuckoo from Africa to India and back by tagging two birds with satellite transmitters. Basically, we should know that pied cuckoo is also, it is a migratory species which migrates from Africa to India and then migrates back, and to tag their proper movement, this initiative has been taken through satellite transmitters. Second, Rosalind Franklin. So about her, it can be very, it is very probable that she might be asked in the exam, because today is the 100th birth anniversary of Rosalind Franklin. But who was she? She was a British scientist who is remembered as the wronged heroine of DNA, because basically it is considered that she was the one who actually gave the double helix system of the DNA. As you might have seen, that the structure of DNA is like a helix kind of a structure, double helix. It seems like a small stripe which crosses each other, the two stripes which cross each other. So it is considered that she was the one who actually gave the structure of the double helix DNA. But this entire study of her was taken up by 3 other scientists who were actually given or awarded the Nobel Prize for this discovery. But actually it is believed that it was her who first gave this double helix DNA structure. And as a victim of male prejudice, she was deprived of the Nobel Prize for her work on DNA. Then, so basically she's concerned with the DNA. This can be a question in prelims. Third, 10th BRICS Trade Ministers Virtual Meeting. BRICS is an association of 5 major emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And South Africa was the one which joined later in 2010. The meeting aimed at calling the BRICS nations to stand in solidarity with each other and the crisis. Basically, what we should know that recently this virtual meeting of the BRICS trade ministers was held. And what is BRICS? It stands for the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa for coherence and better cooperation. Lunar Lake, or the Lonar Lake, which is in the Buldhana district of Maharashtra. As per the research, now here you might have definitely been able to, you will definitely be able to answer the question of the MCQ that we had asked. As per the research concluded by Pune-based Agharkar Research Institute, the color of the lake turned pink due to the large presence of salt-loving Haloarchaea microbes or the halophilic bacteria. And we know that this is the oval-shaped Lonar Lake, which was hit by a meteorite around 50,000 years ago. Next, so under this Vriksharopan Abhiyan, there will be a campaign at more than 130 locations spread in 38 districts of 10 coal or lignite-bearing states through video conferencing. And sixth, India's first in-orbit space debris monitoring and tracking system has been developed by Digantra, which is India's first air and space surveillance company, which works on LIDAR, LIDAR, which is light detection and ranging technology. And the system will help international space agencies to track and map space debris and to add to minimize the major threats of future space exploration. This will be all for the day, and stay tuned with LawSeco. Thank you so much.